Hi everyone, the mustache must go here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Fire-Toolz album, Eternal Home. Fire-Toolz is the musical project of singer, composer, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and songwriter Angel Markloyd, who's been spinning tangled, progressive, and glitchy webs of metal, electronics, and vaporwave for years now. Last year's Rainbow Bridge did leave an impression on me, but also left me very dizzy, as it had so many perplexing compositions and genre combinations on it, which were kind of difficult to digest, but there was an undeniable genius to it that kept Fire-Toolz in my head. Now, the newest Fire-Toolz record here is an even larger offering at 80 minutes, split up among 4 shorter portions that run about 20 minutes each. And here we get deeper and even more insane combinations of blackened, vapor, jazz prog. And yeah, that sounds nuts, but a lot of portions of this record are legitimately bonkers. But simultaneously, in terms of a sound, I think Angel has stumbled upon something special here. Her classic raspy, ghoulish black metal style vocals do bring a serious kick to the glossy and idyllic beds of synths that paint a lot of these cuts. In a way, it sort of illustrates just how much common ground black metal and vaporwave and new age music actually have. Because there is something similarly atmospheric, cold, isolating, and singular about the sound both of these genres traditionally create. So this leads to a lot of tracks that are grim and visceral, yes, but also very vast and awe-inspiring too. So Fire-Toolz undoubtedly plays with a lot of space, a lot of atmosphere on this project, but it's far from sounding washed out. There's little to no navel-gazing done on this record. If anything, many of the ideas on this project are unfolding and developing very quickly. There are so many chord changes and drum fills and melodic jazzy eruptions all over these tracks that are difficult to wrap your head around. And to really nail down the drumming, like, my god, it's so good on this record. The fills and the groove changes on some of these tracks are insane. I don't know if it's all sequenced or it's an electronic kit, but either way, those fills are tight. Those blasts are also tight. Sometimes everything sounding so synthetic does take the wind out of the sails of some of the moments on the LP where everything is firing on all cylinders, like in the latter portions of Odd Cat Sanctuary, but this track still makes for some of the most righteous black gaze I've heard in a minute, even with those sugary Christmas synths dancing on top. But while there is a lot of chaos to be found on Eternal Home, there are quite a few cuts that hit with very consistent and exhilarating grooves too, like on Yearning, Alchemical Fire, which features wondrous synthesizers topping these driving electro-industrial beats, lots of black metal style vocals in the mix too. The whole track sounds like hacking into the mainframe using black magic. Then the fantastically titled Umbilical Chord Blood has more industrially engineered rhythms with an array of tense dystopian synthesizer passages that really come together when we get this marvelous and mystical sax solo that colors the whole back end of the track. Now, this is the final portion of the first act of the project, and from here moving into the first song of the second portion of it, the second section, it's like being born all over again into a cyber black metal apocalypse. This is easily one of the most crushing and aggressive moments on this entire LP, but what follows are a series of tracks and passages that are some of the most ambient and beautiful and abstract on the entire project, from the lonely glitches and mournful melodies on Softly Chewing Quiet Stars, to the airy enveloping synthesizers and meditative drones on Rubber Band Wrist. There's also the interdimensional Eyes Without a Brain. Progressive Path, I think, was the only spot on the second disc I didn't care for too much, which is mostly due to the weak, nasally singing on the cut combined with the emo-influenced guitar passages. Not a stylistic shift I was anticipating or think was done super well, but I guess it does help usher in the third portion of the project, which I think is the most eclectic. Thick Flowy, glowy. Sparkly, stingy, pain features a lot of crushing metal riffs. Sparkling post-metal arpeggios too. Instrumentally, it's a solid cut, but again, on the vocal end, I'm not crazy about what goes down, as the heavy-handed manipulations leave the singing sounding like an unintelligible buzz. I much prefer the following track, Where on Earth Is My SACCHIDANANDA, which is some blackened pop rock with impenetrable shoegaze guitars in the mix, just enveloping everything. A very strange and unlikely combination of styles, but it actually goes over very well. The following cut feels like I've been teleported to a digital heavy metal rainforest with its riffs and primal rhythms, and the last several cuts of this portion of the disc just continue to push this record's fantastical limits. What's going on with these tracks compositionally and stylistically is indescribable, honestly, but what I will say is Fire-Toolz is very much world building on these cuts and many others, because the more I listen to this record, the less I feel like I'm on Earth. Now, the final disc, I think, has some highlights as well, but at least sonically and compositionally, it doesn't really bring the whole experience of this project a greater sense of finality or anything like that. It mostly continues a lot of the same mayhem. There's lots of busy prog synth metal passages on Off to Las Vegas. There's also the geometric industrial IDM of Outside Bears. One thing I will say though, on To Make Whole Be Whole, there does seem to be at least a bit of narrative closure, with Angel singing pretty frankly about moving to a small town, finding some kind of consistency and serenity in her life. The very end of the track presenting this refrain claiming that she will not die. It's a track very much about thriving and surviving. Meanwhile, the following cut, the closer, reflects a lot on transcending the physical realm, wanting to be a cloud, or just, I guess, outside of your this disgusting bone bag limitation that we're stuck with in this realm, which is maybe reflected in the composition of the song and the smattering of glitchy and disjointed sounds and samples on the track too. It does feel quite formless in a way, but in as efficient a way that I can sum it up, that is the record right there. It is a beautiful album. It's an extreme album. It is a creative album. It's a mind-bending album. But it's not a record that's not without its issues, at least in my eyes. There are some tracks that I think end a little abruptly, or at least progress very quickly, almost as if Angel is trying to speed run the record, even though it is 80 minutes long, and she does seem to give herself a lot of time to build these tracks. There are quite a few that hit very quickly and feature great ideas, but maybe they're not brought to as grand or exciting an end as they could. I Am a Cloud's riffs and grooves and pacing I found to be a little tedious as well. That's maybe the biggest drag on the entire record. And finally, there is something a little overbearing about the size of this record and the way it all plays out amongst these 4 portions sectioned out into 7 or 6 tracks each. There is something very complicated about this record that makes me hesitant to just jump right back into it, but by that same token, it's that same quality, it's that same characteristic that makes it so awe-inspiring to me as well. Feeling a decent 2 strong 7 on this one. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Fire-Toolz, forever.